Imagine waking up every day with a clear sense of purpose, unshakable resilience, and the wisdom to navigate life's challenges. What if I told you that this is possible by simply asking yourself the right questions? The ancient Stoics knew the power of self-reflection and used it to cultivate a better life. In this video, we'll explore 12 Stoic questions that will transform your perspective, help you focus on what truly matters, and guide you towards a more fulfilling existence. Get ready to dive deep into the heart of Stoicism and discover the life-changing potential of these timeless questions. Join me on this journey of self-discovery as we unlock the secrets to a better life through the wisdom of the Stoics. Thank you all for watching and enjoy. Number 12. Did I strive to maintain a rational and unbiased perspective? It's a natural human tendency to see things through the lens of our own desires, fears, and ingrained beliefs. We often make snap judgments based on limited information, or we allow our emotions to override our better judgment. These cognitive biases can lead us astray in countless ways, from minor misunderstandings to major life choices. But the Stoics would encourage us to catch ourselves in these moments of irrationality and gently steer ourselves back to a more balanced perspective. They would urge us to cultivate the habit of questioning our own assumptions, examining our emotions, and striving for a clear and unbiased view of reality. So maybe today, you found yourself in a disagreement with a colleague or family member. In the heat of the moment, perhaps you found your emotions rising, your certainty in your own rightness growing more entrenched. But then, remembering your Stoic practice, you paused. You took a step back and asked yourself, am I seeing this situation objectively? Am I considering the other person's perspective with empathy and an open mind? Am I letting my own ego or need to be right cloud my judgment? With that moment of self-reflection, you might have been able to approach the discussion with a more rational and conciliatory mindset. Instead of getting defensive or lashing out, you engaged in a genuine dialogue, seeking to understand rather than simply to be understood. You practiced the Stoic virtue of empathy, trying to see the situation through the other person's eyes without the filter of your own biases. Or perhaps you were faced with an important decision today, and you found yourself leaning heavily toward one option based on a gut feeling or an unexamined assumption. Again, your Stoic practice kicked in. You stopped and asked yourself, have I really thought through this decision rationally? Have I considered all the relevant facts and potential consequences? Am I letting fear, desire, or some other irrational impulse sway me? By subjecting your decision to this kind of rigorous self-inquiry, you were able to step back from your initial impulse and consider the choice more objectively. You gathered more information, weighed the pros and cons dispassionately, and ultimately made a decision based on reason rather than whim or emotion. These moments of rational self-reflection might seem small, but they hold immense power. When we make a habit of questioning our own thinking, of striving always for a more balanced and objective perspective, we start to make better choices that are more aligned with our deepest values and long-term well-being. Number 11. Have I lived in the present moment without dwelling on the past? One of the most profound insights of Stoic philosophy is the importance of living in the present moment. The Stoics understood that our lives unfold only in the here and now. The past is gone, the future is not yet here, and the only time we truly have is this very moment. Yet how often do we really inhabit this present reality? How much of our mental and emotional energy do we spend dwelling on past regrets or worrying about future uncertainties? This question invites you to reflect on the quality of your presence today. As you look back on your day, ask yourself, did I fully engage with the reality of each moment, or was I lost in thoughts about yesterday or tomorrow? It's a natural human tendency to get caught up in mental time travel. We replay past conversations and experiences in our minds, wishing we had said or done something differently. We anxiously anticipate future events, imagining all the ways things could go wrong. In the process, we miss out on the richness and depth of what's happening right in front of us. But the Stoics would encourage us to catch ourselves in these moments of mental drift and gently bring ourselves back to the present. They would urge us to cultivate a deep appreciation for the gift of each moment, recognizing that this is the only time we truly have. So maybe today, you found yourself worrying about an upcoming deadline at work, imagining all the ways you might fail to meet it. In that moment of anxious future tripping, perhaps you paused, took a deep breath, and reminded yourself that the future is not yet here. You brought your attention back to the task in front of you, focusing on what you could do in that moment to move your project forward. Or perhaps you found yourself replaying a difficult conversation from yesterday in your mind, wishing you had handled it differently. Instead of getting lost in that loop of regret and self-criticism, maybe you chose to reorient yourself to the present. You reminded yourself that the past is gone and the only thing you can control is how you choose to show up right now. With that awareness, you re-engaged with your current activity with renewed focus and intention. These moments of presence might seem small, but they hold immense power. When we're fully engaged with the reality of the present, we tap into a deep well of clarity, creativity, and effectiveness. We're able to respond to challenges with greater agility and wisdom, unclouded by the phantoms of past and future. Moreover, when we cultivate a practice of presence, we open ourselves up to the profound beauty and richness of each moment. We start to notice the small wonders that surround us, the play of light through leaves, the sound of laughter from a nearby room, the subtle flavors of our meal. We develop a deeper appreciation for the gift of being alive, right here, right now. The Stoics also understood that presence is a powerful antidote to suffering. When we're lost in thoughts about the past or the future, we often experience a great deal of emotional pain. We beat ourselves up over past mistakes, or we work ourselves into a state of anxiety over future unknowns. But when we anchor ourselves in the present, we find that much of that suffering falls away. We realize that in this moment, we are fundamentally okay. We have everything we need to handle what's in front of us. That's why this nightly reflection on presence is so transformative. By regularly asking ourselves whether we lived in the present today, we train our minds to return to the here and now again and again. We develop the habit of presence, learning to catch ourselves in moments of mental wandering and gently escort ourselves back to the richness of the current moment. Number 10. Did I approach obstacles as opportunities for learning? The Stoics had a unique perspective on obstacles and challenges. While most people see difficulties as things to be avoided or lamented, the Stoics saw them as invaluable opportunities for growth, learning, and self-discovery. They believed that it is through our struggles that we develop strength, wisdom, and character. This question challenges you to reflect on how you approached the obstacles you faced today. When you encountered a challenge or setback, did you view it as a problem to be solved or an opportunity to be seized? Did you lean into the difficulty, asking yourself what you could learn from it and how you could use it to become a better version of yourself? Let's say you were working on a project at work or school, and you hit a major roadblock. Maybe you couldn't figure out how to solve a particular problem, or you received some critical feedback that made you question your approach. In that moment of frustration and self-doubt, you had a choice. You could have seen this obstacle as a sign of your inadequacy, a reason to give up and walk away. Or you could have approached it as a chance to stretch yourself, to develop new skills and insights. If you chose the latter path, you might have taken a step back and analyzed the situation objectively. What exactly was the challenge you were facing? What skills or knowledge did you need to overcome it? How could you break the problem down into manageable steps? By approaching the obstacle with curiosity and a growth mindset, you open yourself up to a world of learning and self-discovery. Or maybe you faced a more personal challenge today, like a difficult conversation with a loved one or a moment of intense self-doubt. These inner obstacles can be just as daunting as external ones, if not more so, but they too hold seeds of opportunity. Perhaps in navigating a tense discussion, you had the chance to practice deep listening, empathy, and clear communication. Maybe in facing your own insecurities, you had the opportunity to confront long-held limiting beliefs and begin to replace them with a more empowering narrative. Every inner struggle, when approached with consciousness and intentionality, has the potential to lead us to greater self-understanding and personal growth. The Stoics understood that life will always present us with challenges. No matter how successful or accomplished we become, there will always be new obstacles to face, new problems to solve, new fears to confront. But they also understood that this is not a bug of existence, but a feature. It is through these very challenges that we grow, evolve, and become the fullest version of ourselves. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When we approach our struggles with this perspective, we start to see them not as barriers to our happiness and success, but as the very path to those things. We begin to understand that it is only by pushing ourselves beyond our comfort zones, by grappling with what is difficult and uncomfortable, that we can truly know our own strength and potential. This nightly reflection is a powerful tool for cultivating this growth-oriented mindset. By regularly asking ourselves how we approach the day's obstacles, we train ourselves to see challenges as opportunities. We develop the habit of meeting difficulty with curiosity, courage, and a willingness to learn. Over time, with this consistent practice, we find that we become more resilient, more adaptable, more capable of navigating whatever life throws our way. We start to trust in our ability to handle challenges, knowing that each one is an invitation to grow and evolve. We become less daunted by obstacles and more excited by the opportunities they present. So as you contemplate this question, honor yourself for the ways in which you leaned into learning and growth today. Celebrate the moments when you met challenge with curiosity, when you were willing to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone in pursuit of new insight and understanding. And if you find that you shied away from difficulty or got stuck in a mindset of avoidance or victimhood, meet that realization with compassion and a renewed commitment. Remind yourself that every obstacle, no matter how daunting it may seem, is a gift in disguise, an opportunity to develop your inner resources and become the most resilient, wise, and courageous version of yourself. Number 9. Have I expressed gratitude for the blessings in my life? Gratitude was a cornerstone practice in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics understood that cultivating a deep appreciation for the good things in our lives is one of the most powerful ways to foster a sense of contentment, perspective, and resilience. This question invites you to reflect on how you've tapped into the power of gratitude today. As you look back on your day, ask yourself, did I take time to acknowledge and express thankfulness for the blessings, both big and small, that grace my life? Or did I take these good things for granted, letting them fade into the background of my awareness? It's easy, in the bustle and challenges of daily life, to lose sight of all that we have to be grateful for. Our attention naturally tends to focus on what's wrong, what's missing, what's not the way we want it to be. We can get so caught up in our problems and desires that we fail to appreciate the abundance of good that is already present in our lives. But the Stoics would encourage us to actively resist this tendency. They would urge us to make gratitude a daily practice, to consciously shift our focus to all that we have to appreciate. So maybe today, you took a few moments to reflect on some of the basic blessings that are easy to overlook. Things like having a roof over your head, food on your table, and clothes on your back. Perhaps you paused to savor a delicious meal, feeling thankful not just for the food itself, but for all the people and processes that made it possible for that food to reach your plate. Or maybe you found yourself feeling deeply grateful for the people in your life, for the love, support, and companionship they offer you. Perhaps you reached out to a friend or family member to express your appreciation directly, letting them know how much their presence in your life means to you. Maybe you took a walk in nature, marveling at the beauty of the trees, the sky, the birdsong, and feeling a sense of gratitude for the opportunity to experience this magnificent world. Or perhaps you reflected on your own body and health, feeling thankful for the gift of being alive and capable of experiencing all that this life has to offer. These moments of gratitude might seem small, but they hold immense power. When we consciously choose to appreciate what we have, we shift our entire perspective on life. We start to see abundance where we once saw lack, opportunities where we once saw obstacles, blessings where we once saw burdens. And as we cultivate this grateful outlook, We find that we're better able to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. When difficulties arise, as they inevitably do, we're able to place them in a larger context, remembering all that is still good even in the midst of hardship. We're more able to find the silver linings, the hidden gifts, the opportunities for growth and meaning even in our struggles. Number 8. Did I engage in activities that contribute to my personal growth? Personal growth can take many forms. It might involve learning a new skill or delving into a subject that fascinates you. Perhaps you've been wanting to learn a new language, so today you dedicated an hour to practicing vocabulary and grammar. Or maybe you've been curious about a certain period of history, so you spent some time reading a book or watching a documentary about that era. These kinds of intellectual pursuits stretch our minds and broaden our perspectives. They help us develop a richer, more nuanced understanding of the world and our place in it. And as we expand our knowledge, we often find that we have more to contribute to our conversations and interactions with others. But personal growth isn't just about acquiring new information. It's also about developing our inner resources and strengths of character. The Stoics placed great emphasis on cultivating virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and self-discipline, seeing these as the foundation of a well-lived life. So maybe today, you focused on practicing patience and understanding in your interactions with others, even when you felt triggered or annoyed. Or perhaps you challenged yourself to face a fear, taking a step outside your comfort zone in service of a meaningful goal. Maybe you resisted the urge to procrastinate on a difficult task, instead choosing to tackle it head-on with focus and determination. Each of these choices is a form of inner exercise, strengthening the muscles of your character just as surely as physical exercise strengthens your body. And just like physical fitness, the benefits of this inner work compound over time. With each small choice to act with integrity, courage, or self-mastery, you are sculpting yourself into a person of profound strength and resilience. Of course, personal growth isn't always comfortable. Often it involves confronting our limitations, pushing past our familiar boundaries, and dealing with the discomfort that arises when we're stretching ourselves. It can be tempting to avoid this discomfort, to stick with what's known and easy. But the Stoics would encourage us to lean into that discomfort, to see it as a sign that we're growing. They understood that the path of least resistance rarely leads to meaningful development. It's by challenging ourselves, by consciously choosing the path of growth over the path of ease, that we truly evolve. Number 7. Have I taken responsibility for my thoughts, emotions, and actions? It's a common human tendency to point the finger outward when we're feeling frustrated, anxious, or upset. We might blame a coworker for ruining our mood with their negativity, or a traffic jam for making us late and stressed. We tell ourselves that if only these external factors were different, we'd be able to remain calm and centered. But the Stoics would gently challenge that notion. They would argue that it's not the coworker or the traffic jam that's responsible for our inner turmoil. It's our own thoughts and judgments about those situations. It's the stories we tell ourselves, the meaning we assign to events, that truly shape our experience. So let's say you did encounter a negative coworker today, and you found yourself getting increasingly irritated and defensive in response to their comments. In that moment, you had a choice. You could have indulged the narrative that this person was making you feel angry and unsettled. Or you could have taken a step back and recognized that your emotional response was coming from your own interpretations, and that you had the power to choose a different perspective. Maybe, with that awareness, you might have reminded yourself that this person's negativity likely had very little to do with you, and much more to do with their own struggles and stressors. From that place of understanding, you might have found it easier to let go of your irritation and respond with patience and equanimity. That's what it means to take responsibility for your inner world. It's recognizing that your thoughts and judgments are the true architects of your experience, and that you have the power to choose them wisely. The same principle applies to our actions. It's easy to fall into the habit of making excuses for our behaviors, telling ourselves that we snapped at a loved one because we were stressed, or that we procrastinated on a project because we were tired. But the Stoics would encourage us to take a more honest and accountable stance. They would urge us to recognize that our actions are a direct result of our choices, and that we are always empowered to choose differently. So maybe you did speak harshly to a family member today when you were feeling overwhelmed. Rather than justifying that behavior to yourself, you could acknowledge it with clear eyes, recognizing that stress isn't an excuse for unkindness. From that place of ownership, you might reach out to apologize and recommit to speaking with care and respect even in challenging moments. This kind of radical responsibility can be uncomfortable at first. It's often more soothing to our egos to cast blame outward. But as we practice taking ownership of our inner world and our actions, an incredible sense of empowerment arises. We start to realize that we are the ultimate authors of our experience, that we have the capacity to shape our reality through the quality of our thoughts and the wisdom of our choices. Number 6. Did I face challenges with courage and resilience? Life is full of challenges, big and small. Every day brings its share of obstacles, setbacks, and difficult moments that test our mettle. The Stoics understood this fundamental truth, and they placed great emphasis on cultivating the qualities of courage and resilience to meet these challenges head-on. This question invites you to reflect on how you handled the difficulties that came your way today. When you faced a challenge, did you rise to meet it with bravery and determination? Or did you shrink back, succumbing to fear or despair? Courage for the Stoics wasn't about being fearless. They recognized that fear is a natural human response to perceived threats. Rather, courage is about feeling the fear and choosing to act anyway. It's about having the mental and emotional strength to do what's necessary and right, even when it's scary or hard. So maybe you had to have a difficult conversation with a friend or family member today, addressing a long-standing issue. You knew it would be uncomfortable, and part of you wanted to avoid it. But you summoned your courage, knowing that the conversation, while challenging, was necessary for the health of the relationship. You chose to lean into the discomfort, to speak your truth with care and respect, even though your heart was pounding. That's courage in action. Or perhaps you faced a significant setback on a project you've been pouring your heart into. When you encountered that roadblock, you could have given up, letting disappointment and frustration overwhelm you. But instead, you chose the path of resilience. You took a step back, assessed the situation objectively, and started brainstorming solutions. You reminded yourself that setbacks are a normal part of any worthwhile endeavor, and that each one is an opportunity to learn and grow. With determination, you charted a new course forward. These are just examples, but they illustrate the Stoic principle of meeting adversity with a brave and resilient spirit. It's about cultivating the inner strength to face the inevitable challenges of life with equanimity and resolve. And like any skill, courage and resilience grow stronger with practice. Every time we choose to face a fear, to pick ourselves up after a fall, to persist in the face of obstacles, we're reinforcing those qualities within ourselves. We're training ourselves to become more and more capable of handling whatever life throws our way. That's where this nightly reflection comes in. By regularly asking ourselves how we met the day's challenges, we keep the importance of courage and resilience at the forefront of our minds. We make them a conscious priority, a standard to which we hold ourselves. Over time, with this consistent reflection and effort, we can develop a powerful inner resilience, a core of strength and determination that allows us to meet even the toughest circumstances with grace and grit. We learn to trust ourselves to handle whatever arises, knowing that we've faced challenges before and emerged stronger. So as you contemplate this question, honor the moments you were able to be courageous and resilient today, no matter how small they might seem. Recognize that every act of bravery, every choice to persist and keep going, is a testament to your inner strength. Number 5. Have I acted in accordance with my values? Let's say one of your central values is honesty. You believe in always telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. But perhaps there was a moment today when you were tempted to lie, maybe to get out of an obligation or to avoid an awkward conversation. In that moment, you had a choice. You could act in accordance with your value of honesty and tell the truth, even though it was difficult. Or You could take what might have seemed like the easier path and bend the truth. If you chose the path of honesty, even in the face of discomfort, that's a powerful way of affirming your values. You showed yourself that your principles aren't just empty words. They're living commitments that you're willing to stand by, even when it's not easy. That's integrity, or let's say compassion is one of your guiding lights. You believe in treating all beings with kindness and understanding. But maybe there was an incident today when someone cut you off in traffic and you found yourself cursing at them, overcome with frustration. In that heated moment, you weren't exactly embodying compassion. Moments like these are golden opportunities for self-reflection and growth. When you catch yourself acting out of alignment with your values, you can use that awareness to course correct. You might take a breath, reconnect with your intention to be compassionate, and send a silent wish for that other driver's well-being. You're training yourself, moment by moment, to close the gap between your ideals and your actions. This is the heart of Stoic practice. It's about consistently choosing to act in accordance with our deepest principles, even in the face of challenges or temptations to do otherwise. It's about cultivating that inner integrity, that deep congruence between what we believe and how we behave. And here's the thing, the more we practice this, the more automatic it becomes. Over time, with consistent reflection and effort, our values start to shape our instinctive responses. We find ourselves naturally inclined to honesty, to compassion, to courage, to all those qualities we hold most dear. It becomes less a matter of gritting our teeth and forcing ourselves to do the right thing, and more a matter of effortlessly expressing who we truly are. This nightly question is a powerful tool for that transformation. By regularly asking ourselves whether we acted in accordance with our principles today, we keep those principles front and center in our minds. We make them a living priority rather than just a nice-sounding set of ideas. Number 4. Did I treat others with kindness and respect? Maybe you had a frustrating encounter with a customer service representative who was being unhelpful or even rude. It would have been easy to snap back, to match their tone with equal irritation, but perhaps you chose a different path. You took a breath, reminded yourself that this person was likely dealing with stresses and challenges you couldn't see, and responded with patience and understanding. You controlled your own actions even if you couldn't control theirs. Or perhaps a friend or family member was lashing out at you, saying hurtful things in a moment of anger. The instinctive response might have been to retaliate, to defend yourself by attacking back. But maybe you were able to step back and see the pain or fear beneath their words. You chose to respond with compassion, to listen deeply and offer support, even in the face of their hostility. You treated them with kindness, even when they were struggling to do the same. These moments are opportunities to practice one of the most transformative principles of Stoic philosophy. When we meet others' negativity with our own positivity, we open up the possibility for real connection and understanding. We create a circuit breaker in the cycle of reactivity, offering a chance for something new to emerge. And importantly, this practice isn't about being a pushover or allowing others to treat us poorly. It's not about suppressing our own needs or boundaries. Rather, it's about choosing our response wisely. We can assert our boundaries, express our needs, and even remove ourselves from toxic situations when necessary. But we can do so from a place of fundamental respect and compassion for the other person's humanity. This is a high-level skill, and it takes practice to cultivate, especially in charged moments. That's where this nightly reflection comes in. By regularly asking ourselves whether we met others with kindness today, even in the face of unkindness, we train ourselves to respond more skillfully in the moment. Over time, it can become almost a reflex, our default way of meeting the world. When others are reactive, we learn to be responsive. When others are closed off, we learn to stay open. We become masters of our own actions, able to extend respect and compassion even in the most challenging relational moments. And here's the thing. This practice doesn't just transform our relationships with others, it transforms our relationship with ourselves. Every time we choose kindness over retaliation, understanding over judgment, we're shaping ourselves into the kind of person we want to be. We're acting in alignment with our deepest values, and that feels good. It fosters a deep sense of inner peace and self-respect. So as you reflect on this question, honor the moments you were able to show up with kindness today, even in the face of difficulty, and when you identify times you fell short, meet those too with compassion. Remind yourself that this is a practice, and every misstep is just another opportunity to learn and grow. The more you return to this powerful question, the more you'll find yourself naturally inclined toward kindness, respect, and understanding. You'll start to experience the deep joy of meeting the world with an open and compassionate heart, regardless of what comes your way. Number 3. Have I focused on things within my control? If there's one idea that lies at the very core of Stoic philosophy, it's the distinction between what is within our control and what isn't. The Stoics understood that we often waste an enormous amount of time and energy worrying about, trying to change, or feeling frustrated by things that are fundamentally beyond our influence. And conversely, we often neglect to focus on the things that are within our power, our own thoughts, beliefs, actions, and responses. This question invites you to consider how well you've applied that wisdom today. As you look back on your day, ask yourself, did I focus my efforts on the things I can actually control, or did I get caught up in trying to control the uncontrollable? Perhaps there was a decision at work that didn't go your way, and you found yourself complaining about it for hours afterwards, getting more and more worked up. Or maybe you spent the day worrying about what other people thought of you, trying to control their perceptions and opinions. Or perhaps you were anxious about a potential future scenario, playing out all the worst-case possibilities in your mind. In each of these cases, you were focused on things outside your direct control, your coworkers' choices, other people's thoughts, imagined future events. And as a result, you likely experienced a lot of unnecessary stress, frustration, and emotional turbulence. The Stoics would gently remind you, that's not a great use of your precious energy. Instead of getting caught up in all those external factors you can't control, what if you redirected your focus to what you can control, your own thoughts, beliefs, and responses? So when that disappointing decision comes down at work, rather than complaining and stewing, you might choose to accept it with equanimity. You can't control the decision itself, but you can absolutely control how you respond to it. You might decide to extract valuable lessons from the experience, or to channel your energy into your next project, or simply to let it go and move on. When you find yourself worrying about others' opinions of you, you could remind yourself that you can't control what anyone else thinks, and that's okay. What you can control is being true to yourself, acting with integrity, and treating others with kindness and respect. Focus on embodying your values, and let the chips fall where they may when it comes to others' perceptions. And when anxiety about the future starts to creep in, you can pull yourself back to the present moment. Remind yourself that the future is inherently uncertain, and that worrying about it only robs you of your peace of mind in the here and now. Instead, focus on what you can do today to prepare yourself, to build resilience, to take positive action toward your goals. Number 2, did I allow external events to disturb my inner tranquility? The Stoics were masters of maintaining inner peace in the face of life's ups and downs. They understood that true tranquility comes not from controlling every external circumstance, but from cultivating the right internal responses. This question cuts straight to the heart of that wisdom. It invites you to consider, as you look back on your day, were there moments when you allowed outside events to knock you off balance? Maybe it was a snide comment from a coworker that got under your skin and left you stewing, or a traffic jam that made you late for an appointment, throwing off your whole morning. Or perhaps it was something more serious, a relationship conflict, a financial setback, a health scare. Whatever the specific situation, the key insight here is that it's not the event itself that causes your inner disturbance. It's your reaction to it. The Stoics realized that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can absolutely control how we respond. So when you find yourself thrown off kilter by external circumstances, that's a golden opportunity to practice this Stoic principle. Notice the instinctive emotional response that wants to surge up, the frustration, anxiety, or despair. But then See if you can catch yourself. Pause. Take a breath, and remember, you have a choice here. You can choose to indulge those agitated emotions and let them sweep you away. Or you can choose to anchor yourself in your own inner stability, to find that place of centeredness within you that remains undisturbed, even in the midst of life's storms. It's a powerful thing. To develop that capacity for inner calm amidst outer chaos, it means you're no longer at the mercy of circumstances beyond your control. You've found an unshakable source of okayness within yourself. And like any skill, it takes practice to cultivate. That's where this nightly question comes in. It's a way of training yourself, day by day, to respond to life's curveballs more gracefully. Each time you catch yourself succumbing to disturbed emotions and consciously choose inner peace instead, you're strengthening that muscle. Over time, it can become almost a reflex, an ingrained way of moving through the world. And there's a profound freedom in that. When you're no longer tossed around by the whims of external events, you can show up in life with so much more poise, clarity, and effectiveness. So as you reflect on this question, celebrate the moments you were able to maintain your equanimity today. And for the moments you faltered, extend some compassion to yourself. It's a practice, not a perfection. Simply recommit to meeting tomorrow's challenges with as much inner peace and evenness as you can muster. Remember, your tranquility is always available to you, even in the most trying of times. It's not something you have to manufacture or chase after. It's your natural state, beneath the turbulence of reactivity. You just need to remember to come home to it again and again, to choose it, in the face of all of life's fluctuations. Number 1. What virtue did I exhibit today? This powerful question lies at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believe that virtue is the only true good in life, and that we should strive to cultivate virtue above all else. By regularly reflecting on our actions and behaviors through the lens of virtue, we can gradually reshape ourselves into more exemplary human beings. So, as you look back on your day, pause and consider deeply. Did you demonstrate any of the 4 cardinal Stoic virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, or temperance? Perhaps a challenging situation at work tested your wisdom. Maybe a colleague who was treating another coworker unfairly, and you had to decide whether to intervene. A less wise person might have jumped to conclusions and reacted impulsively. But you took a step back, gathered all the relevant information, looked at the situation objectively from multiple angles, and ultimately made a careful, well-reasoned decision about the best path forward. That's wisdom in action. Or maybe your courage was on display today. Picture a scenario where you had an opportunity to stand up for something you believed in, even though you knew it would be unpopular. A courageous person does the right thing even when it's hard. And that's exactly what you did. You expressed your convictions clearly and confidently, even in the face of resistance. In that moment, you embodied the virtue of courage. Temperance, too, is a key Stoic virtue. Maybe you exercised self-discipline today by resisting the urge to indulge in unhealthy habits like stress-eating junk food or procrastinating on social media. Instead, you chose the path of moderation and self-control, regulating your impulses in the service of your larger goals and values. That's the virtue of temperance in practice. So, identify the virtue you most exemplified today and honor yourself for expressing it. But don't stop there. Push yourself to think about how you could have done even better. What was one specific way you could have been even wiser, fairer, braver, or more disciplined? Zero in on something concrete, like pausing even longer before reacting, or standing up for your beliefs even more assertively. Then, commit to taking that extra step tomorrow. By asking this question daily, you heighten your awareness of virtue and train yourself to be more virtuous with each passing day. You develop the habit of holding your own actions to a higher standard, in service of continual self-improvement. And as you keep practicing, those individual instances of virtuous behavior start to add up. Consistently exercising virtue sculpts your character over time, gradually bringing you closer to the Stoic ideal of the sage. No, you may never achieve perfect wisdom or total self-mastery, The sage is an aspirational archetype, not an attainable end goal. But day by day, you'll get better and better at navigating life's challenges with strength and equanimity. You'll get wiser at untangling complex situations, braver about sticking to your principles, more disciplined in your habits, fairer and more ethically consistent in your treatment of yourself and others. Essentially, by reflecting on virtue each day, you'll be living more fully by your deepest values and steadily flourishing into the most excellent and admirable version of you. If you are listening to this, thank you for staying till the end. If you feel any of these Stoic lessons resonated with you today, feel free to start a Stoic discussion in the comments. I welcome Stoic discussions as they are what the great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca advised for. As we stated before, if you're interested in Stoicism and self-improvement through the great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, then our Stoic newsletter, which you can join in the description, is perfect for you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you find peace and serenity in the Stoic ways.